Hello and welcome to this week's live session from Impact Subsea here on YouTube. I'm Ben Grant, Managing Director of Impact Subsea, and as always, I'll be answering your questions live here on our sensors. Over the past few weeks, we've looked at different sensors from Impact Subsea, looked at our ISA 500 altimeter range, the ISD 4000 depth and temperature sensor range, ISM 3D, AHRS sensor. Last week, we looked at our ISS 360 scan and sonar range. This week, we're going to look at the IS-FMD system, which is the flooded member detection system from Impact Subsea. For those who don't know, flooded member detection systems are intended for use underwater and are used to determine whether a member or structure subsea has flooded and is filled with water or liquid, or if it's filled with a gas. For example, if you've got a structure of an offshore platform, these are usually all welded together. They're sealed against water, so it should just be air or a gas inside the structure. But over time, erosion can creep in, and then water will get into the structure itself. At which point you get a concern that there may be fatigue in the structure or weakness in the structure occurring due to that water ingress. So it's important to regularly go around subsea structures and check them to make sure they haven't flooded. And there's a number of different ways of doing this. There's a radioactive source method, a gamma ray method, and then there's the use of acoustics, which is the type of system we provide with the ISF-MD system. So our flooded member detection system, it's based around a single probe. That's the probe in its housing there. It's based on the ISA 500 sensor at its core. It's a 500 kilohertz ultrasonic probe, transmits acoustic pulse into the water around about 6-degree conical beam. When you're using it for flood member detection work, you take the probe, you put it right up against the surface of the member. It will then transmit a pulse of sound into that member. If the member is full of a liquid, the sound will travel through the member, hit the back wall of the member, and be reflected back again to the probe. At which point the probe picks it up as a return, and it measures basically the diameter of the member. If that happens, then it's classed as a flooded member. If you put this up against a dry member, the sound is transmitted into the member, and the 500 kilohertz signal very quickly attenuates and is absorbed by the air inside the member, and it never hears any reflection coming back again. And so the system is quite simple in principle. If it sends a sound in and it hears a sound coming back again, it assumes it's flooded, and it verifies this because the sound will take the required time to travel down to the member and back again, so it'll report exactly the member diameter as the distance is measured. If the member is dry, it'll transmit sound in and it'll simply hear nothing back. So it's quite simple in principle. The member, or the probe itself rather, we supply the titanium probe, and we also provide the holder here, which is an acetal holder with 2 stainless steel bars. So these can be used by a diver to hold the probe and push it up against a member, or it can be used by a work-class ROV for the manipulator to hold onto that and move the probe around. And if you're using it on a smaller ROV, the probe itself can come out of this holder, and you can mount it directly onto the small ROV and just fly the ROV up against the member, hold it against the member while you take a reading. In terms of telemetry, I've got a diver system here today. So I've got the probe, the cable, which runs back into this blue cable, and the reel you can see there behind me. The reel then runs up to a topside interface box and into a PC, which is running our FMD software, as can be seen in the background there. The software is very user-friendly. It's really intuitive. The top left-hand corner, you've got a little mimic of the probe. So as I move the probe in real time, you can see it on screen moving. This is quite useful, especially if you're topside working the software and you're coordinating the FMD project with a diver. So if you tell the diver, please put the probe at 6 o'clock position, you can see on the screen once it's been correctly positioned. You can see any other positions that it's at any one time. In the middle of the screen at the top, you have the acoustic returns. So if the probe pings into a member, it'll show you any returns that come back there. And on the right-hand side, it automatically classifies the member as dry, flooded, or part flooded. And so part flooded is where you maybe put the probe up against a member, maybe underneath the member, it's pinged into the member, but it hasn't read the entire member diameter, but it's got to return at a shorter distance. So that might indicate that the member is just partially flooded and not fully flooded. Down at the bottom, in the middle, you've got your member setup, so you can set up the member diameter, you can set up the speed of sound, the transmit power, things like that. The left-hand side, you have a list of members, so you can preset a whole lot of members prior to starting the project, then work through member by member, taking readings. So just to show you how this works, so if you took the probe, I'm just going to drop it into our test tank here to simulate a flooded member, just for ease demo. So drop it in there. Then if we go in the software and click ping, so we click ping, and you can see in the software we've got a return at about a meter value, which is the diameter of the member I've set up. So it's been classified as flooded. If I take the probe out of the water, just dry it off. If I do another test ping, just in air this time, so ping there. And this time it's seen no reflection and it's classified it as a dry reading. And so it's pretty quick and easy to understand how the system works. For those who want to know more about how the system works and how to set it up, how to use the software, we've got a couple of really good videos on our website, on the ISFMD page. One video shows you how to physically set up the entire system, how to plug the cable together, get it all connected to your laptop. And the other video shows you the software interface. So it shows you setting up for the first time and then takes you through actually getting readings as well. Those videos, they're both quite short, about 10 minutes in total, but they're well worth viewing if you want to learn more about how to do flooded member detection. So that's kind of the system overview of the system. Some of the questions that we get asked about this system. One is, what are the power requirements for the probe? So the probe itself run anywhere from 9 to 36 volts DC. All the electronics are contained in the probe itself, so there's no separate bottle for use subsea. Everything's just in the probe, cable straight back to the surface or into your ROV telemetry. And in terms of the ROV telemetry, the probe can work over RS-232 comms, or it can work into RS-485 comms. So it can work on pretty much any underwater vehicle. Another question we often get asked is, what's the minimum level of cleaning that I need to carry out to the members prior to conducting the FMD test? So this is an acoustic-based system, so it's quite important that the probe itself gets reasonable contact with the member under test. What we tend to recommend is spot cleaning. So just spot cleaning in the areas that you require to carry out the test on the member. And that'll just allow the probe to align to the member and be able to transmit that sound into the member and get a good sound coming back again if it's flooded. Another question we sometimes get asked is from users who already have the ISA 500 altimeter, which is also an echo sounder. That is, can I upgrade the sensor to be an FMD system? And the answer is yes. If you have an acoustic-based system, if you have a ISA 500 with a part number of 1336 or 1220, then we can provide a software license, and then that ISA 500 will be ready to carry out FMD work. I'm just getting a warning that our connection's a little unstable, so apologies if we're breaking up. Another question we have occasionally been asked is the system affected by strong magnetic presences? So the system is entirely operating on acoustics, so any magnetics around the system won't affect your acoustic reading. The only thing that might get affected is the little mimic of the probe on screen. Probe itself does have heading capability, so you might just see that probe rotating on screen. But in terms of how it's the attitude of the probe, that'll be correct, and all your FMD readings will be correct as well. One question we occasionally get asked is, you provide training on the ISFMD system? And we do on occasion, but typically we tend to refer people to the two videos on our website or here on our YouTube page as well, the setup video and the software demonstration video. Those two videos typically will give you enough information to get started with FMD systems. So that's all the questions we kind of commonly get asked, and that'll be all for this week. So Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.